The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds,
Ingenia Herbicide,
and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin. Welcome to Soybean School. Today we're down in Chatham, Ontario, catching up with Pride agronomist Matt Chapple. Matt, how's it going?
It's going well, Bern. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. Now you're going to get busy here in the next little while. Planting is pretty much ready to go, and you got a lot of fields, a lot of different situations down here that you're managing, getting ready for planting prep. We're going to get into some fields today and look at what the different situations that Matt and other agronomists and other farmers are looking at this spring. Matt, what do you got for us?
Well, Bern, we got about 4 real good situations to look at as we prepare for spring of 2021. We've got some conventional tilled soil, we've got some minimum tilled situations, we got no-till, and of course StripTill. So we're going to have some different looks, some different perspectives on those situations and what we can do ahead of Plant 21.
Awesome. So let's hit the field. Let's see what you got.
Let's get out there and have a look. We're out here in our minimum till field. This field was actually dissed in the fall of 2020 after 2 years of corn crops. So two big corn crops off this field, a lot of residue. It was a solid mat, and the grower didn't feel like we could really do a solid job at planting into all that residue in the 2021 growing season. One of the strategies on this sandy soil with a history of cyst pressure was actually to build soil organic matter and to mitigate the risk of this soil being very dry in the spring of 2021. So as you can see, some pretty good residue sizing. Residue is chopped up pretty nicely. We don't have a solid mat in this situation, and I think with a well set up planter with row cleaners, we can do an excellent job and do the best job we can with our planter ahead of the 2021 growing season. One thing that we'll be watching in this field was in 2020 we had issues with some grass escapes. We have a history of things like Canada fleabane and ragweed on this farm, so it'll be imperative to manage that with a pre-emergence herbicide program with good residual control as we set up for our soybean crop this growing season. So we're out here in a whole different scenario now. We're looking at our conventionally tilled farm. This is a clay loam soil that actually was wheat in 2020 growing season. So this had primary tillage passes in the fall of 2020. One pass for control of some volunteer wheat, and followed up by a nice leveling pass later on in the fall in some good dry conditions. So this farm has good fertility, good P and K levels. The grower utilizes a 15-inch row planter. You know, looking at the way we have residue coverage right now, there's minimal residue coverage. This is a pretty mellow soil profile right now, and I think that if there's a farm that we're going to have a strategy around high management in 2021 growing season, this is the farm where I think we can do it. One that we maybe don't push our populations crazy on our 15-inch row width. We keep it around that 150,000, but we can plant good and consistently with our planter in this situation, and weed control should not be an issue as we can come in with a good pre-emergence application. Now if we turn dry, this is a good candidate for stale seed bedding. If we turn wet, a little more patience will prevail, and we can also still stale seed bed, or if we need to fix some crusting or some hard areas of the farm, a light pass with the cultivator in the spring will set up just nicely for a good seed bed, and we can minimize that spring compaction layer in this situation. We're now standing in an adjacent field, 2020 corn crop, and this was one heck of a corn crop at that, leaving us with a lot of residue. What I do like about this situation and this being a good candidate for no-tilling in 2021 is the grower did not utilize a chopping head. The grower left a lot of the residue long, so a lot of the stalk is still within the row, and a lot of the trash really is focused to the base of the row. That really allows us to go in with a good row cleaner, have good down pressure on our planter, and do a good job planting between those corn rows from last year, whether it be with your 15-inch planter or even with a drill if that be your tool of choice. One thing to mention about the 2020 growing season was we experienced some high winds later in the growing season. That induced some down corn. Some stalks gave way as that corn dried in the field, and that will be something we have to consider to manage in our 21 soybeans. Not something we manage ahead. I'm not a proponent of going in now with a vertical tillage tool and inducing that shallow compaction layer this spring, but more or less coming in and having a strategy around controlling that with a herbicide product, in crop this growing season. In this situation, in this no-till environment, will be most important to utilize a burn down and then come back in with a nice cleanup pass in crop to knock down some of those broadleaf weeds that are going to come later on. And also a fan on having some residual grass control in the mix. We're on our final stop of today's tour burn, and we're looking at a strip-till environment now. So again, this was high producing corn in 2020 growing season, and this grower here is really got a long-term strategy for soil health and improving their farm's soil structure, and really utilizing the strip-till system is able to have that happy medium between conventional and no-till structure. So this strip here now is fall banded P&K. It is ready to go for the planter, regardless of what spring brings our way, whether it turns wet or whether it turns dry. They will hit the strip with their twin 21 or twin rows on a 30-inch center is what they will do, and plant around 160,000 seeds per acre. And this has proven to be a very successful practice, a very high yielding and efficient practice to get good fertilizer utilization and to maximize their yield potential on these acres. So a really positive story here. I like the management. We've got good residue control down the rows. The strip is bound to warm up faster and dry nicely and consistently and be set up for a great plant 21.